we are back. Welcome to Sharko's Tactical Podcast, episode 80. I am here with my homies and a very special guest, the Mike. How do you say your last name?
Mihalski.
Mike Mihalski of Sons of Liberty Gunworks. Thank you for coming, man.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. This has been great.
We have the Omer Essen.
Hello.
Brown Lightning himself, the illustrious. And my lord, Luke the Glue Andrews.
What up?
Dude, you got lorded into coming over here today.
Yeah.
Before we get started, I want to thank the guys for coming in. We're actually shooting the podcast on a Sunday. But everybody came on a Sunday, which is uncommon. It's hard to get your folks to come do things on Sundays because that's their day off. But we're all here because Mike's here.
Well, we had a good armorers class. We had like almost 40 students in the class.
40?
Yeah, it was packed. It was awesome.
So, armorers courses. We just did one here at our production facility. Explain the armorers course. Like, what the fuck is it? Where'd it come from?
So my mentor was a guy named Will Larson, and this is kind of how I got started in the industry. Was I took an armorers course, and it took all the stuff that intuitively you kind of understand about the system, but I wasn't able to really quantify or put into like how to make it formulaic. I took this class, and it kind of clicked, and that's what's got me started on building guns in my garage. This class was the precursor to it.
Who was Will Larson?
Will Larson was probably, I think, one of the best armorers that I've ever met. This guy was he could have taught the class that I teach on the M4, like on mortars, the miniguns, belt feds, whatever. I mean, I don't know anybody that has that much comprehensive knowledge on these weapon systems to be able to teach it on everything, right? But he worked for Psionics. He was like the head guy at Psionics for their armor stuff. But before then, he had come through like Triple Canopy and Blackwater, and he was an armorer overseas for a lot of time, servicing guns over there. Came back, worked for BCM for a little bit, and then just started traveling the country because the only AR-15 armorer school at the time was like the Colt school. And the Colt armorer school is a great school, but it's 3 days straight of beating roll pins and kind of like how to torque a barrel nut. I don't think you need, and Will didn't think you needed 3 days to teach that. He wanted to teach more like truly how a direct impingement system works. How does every part interact with every other part? And if you intuitively understand that, then you don't have to memorize like the order of things. You can intuitively see the weapon, and diagnostics becomes super easy. Being able to service weapons becomes super easy, and then looking for what a quality weapon is really made of is a mastery of fundamentals. And so, anyways, he was the guy that kind of was my mentor, and he passed away like 4 years into like Sons of Liberty, and he was actually on the way to a Sons of Liberty class to teach when we got word that he had passed away. And so I had to step up and teach the class to like a packed audience. Will would sell out every class he went to, and once I did that, I thought I almost owed it to him to continue his curriculum. Until this day, the curriculum that I teach is still the bones of it, the skeleton of it, if you will, is still Will's curriculum. It's just that the system has evolved, and new things have come online, since then. But that's kind of where it started. And I believe we have the most comprehensive armorer school in the country. Because it's not really a how-to; it's more of a why. It's a neat class.
Yeah, I wish I could have done it, but I had to work, Omar. You got to do it. Did you like it? What did you think of it?
It was great. Were you working today?
No. No, I went shooting and then I had a nap. Yeah, all right, I guess. What was it like?
You're asking me or him?
You.
It was great. I mean, exactly like he said, it's the why on everything. I don't think I've ever... I'll put it this way. I'd like to consider myself pretty nerdy when it comes to ARs. I got out-nerded hard. He went into every detail. The both Mike and Todd, the wealth of knowledge is kind of crazy because like one of the students would ask like, what about this weird obscure gun and then this obscure gas block that can go on that gun? And they'll be like, well, that one's made out of this exact material. using the. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, so you had like gun nerds trying to out gun nerd each other? Kinda?
Not really. They were just asking questions that I like. For me, would be a let's ask Google question, and they just had the answers locked and loaded. I guess you just walk around memorizing what number steel, what every gas block is.
So you don't think it was like in comparison to like a Star Wars fan asking some obscure Star Wars question just to be fucking weird?
I don't think. I think they were
Okay.
genuinely curious, but it was
Okay.
just crazy that there were some questions like while it's being asked, I'm sitting there, I'm like, what a weird question to ask. You can just ask that to Google, and boom, just have it locked and loaded. Yeah, here's the answer.
And there were 40 people over there? Where did you sit?
Our assembly shelf.
The shelf.
Yeah, I put myself on the shelf.
So you're Omar on the shelf?
I was Omer on the shelf. Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
nice vantage point.
And you sat like in the like little cubby?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
It's
But
where
that's all right.
It's where I fit.
We didn't. So we accidentally like sold. I mean, well, we didn't sell like you guys sold the tickets, but we have the. I had no idea like how many people were signing up. I had no fucking clue, and then I just on a whim. Well, it was like Monday, and I called. Like I didn't even know Todd's number, and I got Todd's number from Tim, and I called like, hey, fucking, how many people have signed up? And he's like, looks like 23. So I'm like, shut it down. We didn't expect to have, or we didn't really want 23 people. We wanted like maybe 20, and because the room's not, it's not the biggest room in the world.
When you want to keep like typically the instructor to student ratio a little bit more manageable, especially if we're going to be tearing guns apart and rebuilding them properly and all that. But what was cool about this class is that the majority of the students, these are guys that know how to use a torque wrench. These are guys that know how to use a roll pin driver. So like how to drive a roll pin probably wasn't what they were actually looking for. It was more like, why do you choose this steel in this application? Or, what's the relationship between the gas port dwell time and internal volume and a buffer weight and the actual like theory of the gun, the mechanics of the gun, the why. And so it went really well. And we were able to deep dive a lot of things that's not normally in the standard curriculum because we weren't doing this as much as the hands-on. We could go down any rabbit hole anybody wanted to go. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, this was a really fun class to teach. And for the students that were in it, they probably got a lot more information than you normally get whenever you're on like a very structured or rigid curriculum. So,
Now, why didn't you go, Luke?
Well, I don't really put together ARs, so
Yeah, but would it be important for you to know and for your general knowledge?
it probably would.
But you were just fucking lazy as fuck, right?
No one offered it to me. No one asked me.
Yeah, but you're pretty fast at asking for like a fucking Ruger.
No,
out
I'm
of the
not.
used cabinet.
No, I'm not.
Of course you are. Yeah, dude. You're real. Like you fuckers are.
What is this? This is crazy.
You fuckers are so quick to ask for fucking shit.
When
like-
was the last time I asked for something?
Where'd the plural come from?
I mean, not you, Omar. You generally don't ask for anything. But I mean, you guys are like the nerd team. Fucking you and Kandrew, and Chris. All of you guys fucking like it's like you're like vampires when fucking cool shit comes in.
That's-
But if an opportunity to learn something to better yourself in the industry happens, you're fucking out gallivanting, getting lorded by,
Okay, let me defend myself. First of all,
I noticed you have some sun.
I did get some
So
sun this
you
weekend.
probably were you on the beach with Eric?
No.
Because Eric has sun too. Eric has sun. You have sun. Were you getting lorded by Eric?
No. This is all blasphemy.
Okay.
No, I mean, I know it was filling up. There was it was priority for our AR guys that build ARs for their living and do it professionally to be in the class. So I really didn't think it was.
You lying sack of shit. You didn't
No,
want to
I'm
fucking
not.
work.
It's not work. I mean, I would love to go to that, but
Okay. I mean, I would love to have gone. I didn't get to go either.
Again, you got to go. You chose not to. You chose to go shooting and take a nap.
I did. I did. I chose to go. Yeah, I did. Anyway, so Mike, tell us, how did it start? You are from San Antonio?
yeah, born and raised in San Antonio.
Born and raised in San Antonio.
Born and raised.
Like you're a fucking Texas kid.
Yeah, actually, it was a little town just right outside of.
But you don't
San
sound like a
Antonio.
Texas kid. Is the San Antonio accent not like the Dallas accent?
I get told that a lot. People ask me if I'm from the Midwest, and I'm like, I don't hear it. So, I don't
Well,
know.
because Chris, our compliance guy is from Texas.
Does he sound like he's from Texas?
Yeah, he sounds like he's
Yeah.
from Texas, yeah.
Okay.
Rifle.
Yeah, no. Born
I'm
and raised
Chris.
San
I'm down.
Antonio.
I'm from Texas. I'm down to fuck. He says stuff like that. So San Antonio, tell us about it. Like you were just a ruffian, or what were you doing?
No, so I guess before Sons of Liberty, I was kind of not doing much. You know, I mean, I'd travel around paying my bills with a pool cue, or got into skydiving for a while, got into like running card games, sports betting. It's kind of all over the place. The only consistent thing that I've ever been truly interested in my whole life was guns. I mean, from like the time I was, as old as I can remember, 3, 4, 5 years old, like all my toys were guns. That was the one thing I was obsessively interested in. And it was the one thing that remained constant no matter how many weird, hobbies or interests and things that I delved in along the way. It was that. And so whenever, like I said, I took this class with Will, and it kind of clicked that this is something I wanted to pursue. I started building guns in my garage. I started building guns for friends. And I did that for maybe almost a year until I got a knock at the door one day from the ATF.
How was that?
That was awkward. It was uncomfortable. So if anybody thinks that there's not a registry, you're wrong. Like when they came and they approached me, they had every 4473 I'd ever filled out in my life. And when they finally approached me, I had built and shipped a lot of guns like out of my garage, like to friends. This wasn't like to strangers. I wasn't selling these, in an alley out of the trunk of the car. These are people that I knew that I was in building rifles for. And I don't think I fully appreciated that was not okay. Like in the definition, the legal definition of manufacturing with or without a license, it's a bit ambiguous. It's a bit vague.
Agreed.
Yeah, and so
all of ATF law is a bit ambiguous.
By design.
By design.
Yeah. And so, but these guys were like, "Hey, look, this is your one warning, or you need to go. Either if you're going to continue doing this, go get a license, or stop doing this." And so, I went and got a license, and at the same time, like, I had met
Did you get your license out of your garage, or did you go get a freestanding building?
So, I was introduced to a friend through who wanted to also kind of get into the gun business, and he had like an unused basement on a lumberyard. And I think he, looking back, I think he wanted to enhance his own private collection. And I had ambitions of wanting to be the best rifle company in the country. And we got together. He provided the building, and we both sold our cars and stuff to come up with a little bit of operating capital. And that's how Sons of Liberty actually started, was in the basement of a lumberyard. And we had enough scratch together to maybe build 10 rifles and some other stuff. And that's it. We just started. We never had any kind of marketing budget. We still really don't. It was all through word of mouth. And it was peer-to-peer recommendation. And it just started to kind of grow. And you look back, that was 14 years ago. And we're in 34 countries.
Wow.
Yeah, we arm over 500 agencies at the state, local, and federal level, and we've won some really cool DoD awards contracts, and so we're a long way from the garage, but that was it. I mean, that's kind of how it all started. There's
a lot of things I want to cover, but the thing that I'm interested in is how did you figure out how to get product to 34 different countries? How'd you figure that out?
Well, luckily for me, I didn't. We have a guy that was actually used to work for, I guess, HSI and I think State Department, and he does all of our ITAR stuff. And when you build a good product, you get on the radar. And this is, by the way, we were in 12 or 14 countries before the DoD contract,
okay.
Right? And so that was just through culture, like countries like Poland, on the commercial market, right? Poland is pretty much the Texas of Europe, and so our branding and messaging and just the quality of the rifles resonated there. That was, I think, one of the first countries that we started exporting rifles to, and luckily we had somebody that truly understands ITAR compliance and truly understands the State Department paperwork, because I don't. I still till this day am not comfortable with compliance paperwork for 4473s. Our first audit was pretty bad because I mean back then I was disorganized when it comes to like the paperwork side of things. We were still writing serial numbers and stuff down on the back of like a pizza box or something, right? Luckily now we have a team of compliance professionals to make sure we don't screw anything up.
So you just found a fucking ITAR guy? Like one just popped in, or like you pulled him out of your pocket?
No,
like,
so
where'd you meet it? Like, did you have somebody guiding you on how to do it?
No, so one of my like lifelong best friends, his name is Bernard. He works for us. He's in receiving, and he does some other purchasing stuff. His neighbor, this was his neighbor.
Fucking neighbor.
Yeah, his name was Chuck, and he had just retired from like his government job and was looking to do something part time. And you have to remember, like, international sales weren't even on our radar. I mean, I was excited about, getting a new dealer here or a new agency here. I would till this day I still like love to look at like some of the orders that come in over the website, and it's still neat to see like how far the brand reaches, right? And so he came in, and then I think it was at a SHOT Show. We got approached by like some European distributors that were interested in the brand. We talked through it, and then he was able to execute the paperwork. And then it just started. And then once we had success in some other arenas in the last like couple of years, then it really did start to go. If you do well in one of these programs domestically for, a DOD or SOCOM, stuff like that, a lot of those entities in your partner forces and other NATO countries, they talk. A lot of the combat developers from other militaries, they're all kind of spun up on some of the emerging tech and then how those rifles performed, not just through the end user eval, but also through all the testing labs. And the United States has probably more testing capability than anywhere else on the globe for like weapons validation. And so they look at those results and that data very seriously. And then, it just kind of rolls.
So is that from commercial market and Leo Mill having like a symbiotic relationship? Like so many people shooting in America that it just develops the market, or it's just unique because fucking the military industrial complex?
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, so a lot of the foreign like special operations folks, they come to the United States to train, and they're embedded with different places for, different things. And then there's shows like there are like, big SHOT Show. Obviously that, you have a pretty heavy foreign presence.
Sorry.
Yeah, you could. And then there's things like ISOF. ISOF is an international like special operations type of trade show. And again, you have folks from all over the world that come there to look at emerging tech, and they're asking for feedback from their American counterparts, and word of mouth.
When was the first what was the first contract you got? Like mill government?
For LE, the first contract I remember was a small county in South Texas, and that was through a buddy of mine, or I shouldn't say. A buddy of mine had introduced us to the agency because it was a guy I went to high school with, and he ended up becoming like a deputy down there in that small county. And that was the first time we ever had sold to a government entity or a law enforcement agency. And that wasn't a market that I ever really intended to pursue. When I was building guns in my garage and I was thinking about what it was like to be a big rifle company or a good rifle company, I'm thinking of like commercial sales. We were still like on the gun show circuit, like the first, the first like 2 years in. My ability to reach people was in Facebook gun groups and stuff and talking. I mean, I remember coming into the shop, and the first time we walked in and we checked the website, and somebody had ordered a rifle from us that we didn't know. Like that was a milestone. It wasn't somebody within our social circle or somebody that I talked to directly. Like somebody just randomly got on the website and bought a gun. Like I still have that order printed out. It was the very first time like someone outside of my network bought a rifle. And that was in business. I think there's these milestones, like you're trying to reach X amount of something produced a month, or there's a revenue number or whatever. And then once you hit those milestones, you kind of never really regress. It just kind of keeps going. There's something about momentum and milestones.
What I've gotten so far is basically you're like kind of a professional gambler, if you were. You were like as you said, wow, I earn my living through the pool cue, right? That's a fucking professional gambler, right? And you were just making guns in your garage, and then somebody had a basement, so then you went to your basement, and then you must have stumbled upon a Leo contract. But I keep.
I mean, I guess when you say it like that, that would be.
But you keep like since the 2 days I've been hanging out with you, you keep like you've got a lot of business acumen vernacular. That where'd that come from? Like because I don't know half the shit you're talking about. Like you were explaining how our shop was organized. I'm like, what the fuck's he talking about? I don't know. Like, what word you use? Like controlled fucking production, something.
I don't know how much of this stuff is open source, man. But having a tour of your shop, you are probably one of the most like highly productive and like just entrepreneurial kind of spirited, entities I've ever visited. It's really neat to see how many different verticals and stuff y'all are in.
There it is, verticals.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys are.
What the fuck's a vertical?
Like different revenue streams. Like, so for us.
Well, did you go to like business school or anything?
No.
Did you read shit?
No, I graduated dead last in my high school, and that was as far as my formal education ever went. And I just got kind of a crash course in business through 14 years of making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, agreed.
So 14 years of like, making some expensive mistakes, or, there were times where I was so aggressive about wanting to win, or whatever, that I never really understood like the money or the finance side of it. And it wasn't until like you did a lot of work and you look back and you don't have much to show for it that you start to kind of have to recalibrate what you're doing, So no, that's it. Just
So just osmosis then.
Yeah, well, like again,
just 14 years of just.
Yeah, and then I mean, I my business partner that I started the company with actually had some business background, and got us to a certain point, and so there was a little bit of learning through that, and then in the last year, 18 months, I ended up Nate Horvath was the CEO of Staccato.
Yeah,
and he's the one who
that guy.
Yeah, he took Staccato from STI into the brand that it is.
Yeah.
And so whenever there was an opportunity to talk to him, I brought him over to be the CEO of Suns because I needed actual real help to manage where we're going.
It's interesting. Like I was an STI dealer before Staccato, and I didn't realize how significant it was to go from STI to Staccato. And like we were there and stuff, and it was just kind of irritating having to pronounce Staccato as opposed to STI, and I didn't really understand.
There's I think a lot of businesses or ideas die. The hardest thing I think in the world is to go from 0 to 1, right? To go from like an idea to like the first dollar in revenue, or to go from an idea to like the first tangible, thing. 0 to 1 is where I would bet 99% of entrepreneurial ideas die. Going from 1 to 10 is probably a lot easier, because getting out of like the conceptual stage is hard. Then you go like to this thing where you can just through sheer will and grit push from like that 1 to 10. But when you start going from 10, 15, $20 million company to 50, 60, $100 million company, that is a whole different level of scalability. That's a whole different level of stuff, and I mean, I knowing that accepting the fact that I don't know how to do that is probably the most honest thing I can do as a founder. Like I don't know how to do that. That's not my background. I can build guns. I can explain the brand. I can teach the mechanics of the weapon. I can market the brand. But knowing how to manage that kind of thing, that's just not my wheelhouse.
It's a scary thing.
Yeah.
Not as scary as the first ATF audit.
No, we were almost dead in the crib, dude. We almost didn't make it out of that.
Same thing here. It's interesting. Like we have a lot of similarities. Like the ATF audit is obviously the one we're talking about right now. But like first one we had was out of the gate, like it was over, and we just managed to, keep everything through the grace of God.
Yeah, so unless people have dealt with it, they probably don't understand like how the ATF is
No,
structured. So
you don't fucking understand.
you have like the law enforcement side, which people are familiar with, and then you have like the compliance side, which they're more like IRS agents. Like the compliance people have similar personalities, like IRS people for an audit. Where it's very almost accounting type of thing. This isn't the law. They don't even carry guns. They're just compliance, right?
Yeah.
Then you have the ATF technology branch, and then so on and so forth. And like, it's a weird organization for how they liaise with like the industry. And for a while, it was pretty hostile. I mean, through the last couple of years, a lot of gun stores and stuff were closed down for like just like really simple, minor clerical issues.
It's been hostile since 2014 up until about now.
Yeah, this is
100%. It's not hostile right now.
No, there's the current ATF director. Some of the proposed rule changes and stuff that they're doing are actually really helpful to industry and to the consumer. Like as having to notify anybody about transporting an SBR across state lines, or some of the engraving rules, or notifying Clio of a NFA part. I mean, a lot of this stuff it's a lot more for the end user, for the consumer market. This is an interesting time.
So Omer,
Sure.
so you're sitting next to Mike from Sons of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
You have the opportunity to ask him anything you want. You have the opportunity to talk with him. What would you like to say?
I want to get into high car. That's what I'm probably the most excited about.
So you're just sitting over there the whole fucking time, like, God damn, we can talk about high car. Is that it?
Oh, this is great. This is great to listen to, but I can't really, engage with this conversation. I haven't started a company. You two are the founders here, having your founder talk. I'm the gun nerd. I want to know how you're pissing bullets out that fast and what the future holds.
All right, Luke, you're sitting next to Mike from Sons of Liberty. We've wanted him on the podcast for 2 years. We finally got him. What would you like to ask him?
I want to what was like the for the Mark 1? Obviously, that's what everyone is buzzing about right now. Like, what was it, like an idea we're going to make a new rifle, or was it just kind of like updating older rifles?
I got approached about somebody in a role that looks at weapons and looks at technology for their entity, had hit me up, and I guess had watched enough of our videos and seen us like describing some of the technical aspects of an A5 system, or bolt steel. And I'm making videos all the time about the why on how guns operate and things like that, right? And so I'd gotten approached by somebody that wanted to ask if what
Can you tell us who?
I can't.
Okay.
I can say that it's a
So somebody who you can't talk about came to you and said, "Hey, we're looking for something different."
Well, that's not even how it started. The way the conversation actually started was they wanted this particular person as an individual, not on behalf of the entity, but as an individual, was curious about my opinion on like certain materials that could be used in a gun to enhance certain performance characteristics. I think specifically the first question that I was ever asked was, can you use titanium on a gas block? And we got into this conversation about why I don't think titanium on a gas block is a good idea. And it has to do with like titanium has a much different thermal expansion and contraction rate than barrel steel. It expands at a slower rate than the steel of the barrel, which you'd be when the barrel got hot, you'd be creating a bore constriction. And so that's how the conversation started. And then the next question was, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And it kind of developed into, them wanting to, check out guns or see our approach to things. And all of this evolved into being formally invited to a down select, a competitive down select for, selecting a weapon.
What's a competitive down select?
It's where companies all submit their solutions to a problem. The end users evaluate those solutions. They're gonna take if let's say there was 10, they might narrow it down to 5, and then from those 5, they might go to Crane or Army Research Lab or ballistics research facility or whatever. And so once they've narrowed it down to that, then they go send it through, labs to do all of the other environmentals and endurance and dispersion, blah, blah, blah. And so, the group keeps getting kind of narrowed down select. It's being narrowed down to like the final selection. And you have to get through end user eval, get through all the safety testing, all of the endurance testing, it is quite a bit. This was my first at bat. My first attempt, my first time at the plate, we just happened to hit like a walk-away grand slam homer, but I think we were able to achieve that because every vendor is allowed to talk to the entity to some degree and get end user feedback, or they're telling you kind of what they want to see on a weapon, and so there's a ton of features on the Mark I that I never would have intuitively come up with. I've never done that job. I've never done the things that these people do with a gun, and I don't set weapons up the way they set weapons up. And I don't shoot them as hard as they do. And so when they're asking for certain features on the gun, it's because of looking at deficiencies in the platform or things they wish would have been different on a platform for the last 20 years of fielding certain guns. Being a small, nimble company was a huge competitive advantage because we were small enough to be like hyper responsive, and I'm willing to try anything. If they would have asked me to make the gun levitate, I would have tried.
And you're the founder. So if they are going to another vendor, it has to go through a whole fucking series of channels. Probably
so, or I would imagine certain entities can probably talk straight to the founder or owner of any company, but
yeah.
But I think it has to do with like, I think it has to do with like just how willing somebody is to take and incorporate feedback, and because we didn't have like some type of massive, production supply chain kind of like, incorporating some of those changes was probably a little bit less difficult for us than somebody that already has, a set production schedule that was. I'm kind of assuming that because I don't know why else people wouldn't take more of the feedback. But we incorporated pretty much every single feature that was requested by the end user to the stuff to where like it was very hard to do. Like the laser stippling on that rail
that's a pain in the ass.
That it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. It sucks.
Yes.
Especially production run.
Yeah, it takes 3 hours per rail.
Yeah.
And so, texture and stippling on the rail was a request. It wasn't a requirement. It was a request by the entity, and we tried it, and it was very, very hard, but we agreed to do it. I think a lot of other people might have looked at that and said that is too complicated, or whatever. And so, but like cable routing on the channel, like all of the scalloping in between the pick sections so you can't fray wires, the fencing around controls, the use of certain materials that are pretty much impervious to corrosion, the weight, the form factor, all this kind of stuff that goes into it. And, I'm just sitting there like taking notes, the same notes that any vendor would be allowed to take, and anybody that's interacting with places, could kind of get, and you're going to give it your best attempt. And that was how the Mark I was born. I wish I could take credit for a lot of the good ideas in that rifle, but I really can't. The mechanical aspect that I can, right? So like no one tells you how to make a gun run, endurance or precision or, that kind of stuff. That's on us to do. But in terms of like form factor and other requirements, I always looked at weapons as in the sense of like being robust and like super reliable. Like will this gun survive this firing schedule? And so for us, that's how I would look at stuff. But reliability is like the first step on the ladder. Like every gun that's competing for one of these things is going to be reliable. That's how you even get invited. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing is like shootability. And then after that, it is carryability, which is a real thing. Like carryability meaning, are there, how does the rifle interact with gear, or like, are there wires hanging off of this thing creating like a bird's nest, or how does it How does the visual augmentation systems incorporate with the rifle to where it's intuitive? You know, the maximization of like rail real estate. You know, the Mark I has extra pick slots all the way to the rear, all the way to the front of the gun, where it has a ledge where, like, say, a Dagger 2 or something might be able to diving board off of that, and you have maximized that entire rail. If you look at how one of these guns is set up for the professional end users we developed it for, there is not a single space of available rail after that gun's set up. You know, you have a Dagger on there, you have that Unity 3-button, you know, VisSync override, you have your light, you have a Voodoo, you know, S thermal on that thing, you know, there's pixels on target, then you have a day optic, and then you might have a magnifier, and then you might have like some kind of other tool in every like spot on there. So when someone's asking for like continuity of a pick rail, eliminating like the dead space from the upper to the rail, it's because you're freeing up like an extra inch of usable real estate. And the idea was we didn't want people to put things on the gun where they fit. We wanted the people to put things on the gun where they wanted them to be able to do their job. And again, I couldn't have come up with some of that stuff without, you know, kind of hearing feedback and stuff from where other places, you know. Anyways, yes.
All right, Omar. Geek out, dude.
High car.
Okay. So, Omar, please explain for like the dummies like me, high car.
Well, I really like what you said during the class, and you said if you were to add like, you know, bullet points in the history of firearms technology on major innovations, you know, invention of gunpowder to smokeless powder to rifling to cartridges, those main points, you're saying hypervelocity would deserve a little point of its own.
I'm saying that the period right now in small arms tech, the evolution and like this renaissance period of small arms technology right now, and it's not just Sons. I'm saying like any of your serious companies that are going to be competing for that type of space. You know, it's a very exciting time, and because there's been some like legitimate leaps, not incremental improvements. I'm talking about leaps in ammunition technology, and this stuff is open source. I'm not saying anything that I'm not allowed to say because, you know, Federal recently released like a 6.5 Creedmoor peak alloy case, you know, in 7 backcountry and stuff has been in circulation for a while. I remember doing my original Mark I videos back in 2024 when I was, you know, kind of trying to introduce the rifle and talk about the tech. And I remember I actually mentioned like 7 backcountry and things like that. Like, you know, like this is an interesting cartridge. And it was widely dismissed. It was dismissed by the commercial market because it was like some kind of niche caliber and, you know, you had to buy a whole new rifle and, you know, people were kind of dismissive of it. And they missed the biggest thing. Like that case technology is crazy. The case technology is so much stronger than a brass case.
So for dummies, case technology, just expand upon it just for a second.
So the Federal like peak alloy cases that are out right now.
Peak alloy cases.
Peak alloy, yeah.
Okay.
It's like a steel alloy case that can contain a lot more or withstand a lot more pressure than say a brass case. And it doesn't have the same kind of bolt thrust that you would expect on a high pressure cartridge because that steel alloy can expand inside the internal, like the chamber walls. Because of that expansion inside the chamber walls, that friction it creates, it reduces bolt thrust. So now you have a case that is incredibly strong, can withstand pressures that people wouldn't probably believe, and not be super destructive to the gun because the case is actually behaving like brass. And so when you have that going on, then, you know, you can start, I think right now, I mean, this was in the commercial release of the 6.5 Creedmoor, but they're able to push a 6.5 Creedmoor to 6.5 PRC velocities, which is like a 400 feet per second increase or something like that out of the same barrel length. Okay. Well, I mean, and by the way, that I'm pretty sure that case or that cartridge is loaded to like 80,000 PSI. If that's what they're releasing to the commercial market to be able to put into commercial off-the-shelf guns in circulation, that's a high degree of confidence in that case strength and its performance for things like bolt thrust I wonder what those cases and are potentially capable of, especially if you were to put it into a purpose-built gun that was built on where that thing might be heading, or what the maximum of that technology might actually look like. I gotta be. I love this stuff excites me. I also want to be, respectful of a lot of the work our guys are doing internally for development, and then also just, the programs and stuff themselves. But it's a really neat time to be in this. Now, if you're able to achieve that kind of velocity in shorter guns, right? Because if you're getting an extra 400 feet per second or something out of if you're shortening that barrel and you're able to achieve that kind of velocity, then you would imagine that guns can potentially start shrinking, Well, that opens up a lot of capabilities for, if you have a rifle that you use for entry and CQB that is achieving velocities of that of a Recce or, DMR type of rifle, think about how much capability you've opened up on that platform. What it can do, we can do with it. And if the goal is to increase lethality, because that's, people ask me, what do? I'm like, well, my job is to make guns more lethal. Well, lethality starts with being able to hit the target. It's not so much what the bullet does to the target when it hits, but you have to be able to hit the target. Getting a faster bullet with maybe a lower parabolic arc increases hit probability to further distances. And so that is where, it's kind of, again, these are not incremental improvements. They're legitimate leaps in what firearm performance and lethality can look like. Sorry if that was a really wordy
Really
answer
geeky.
Yeah,
I love it.
All the nerds are gonna be like, oh man.
So 6-arc is similar to that in a way. What about barrel longevity with super high velocity? How do you? I know you probably might not be able to say, but
no. So I mean, this is not like we have been playing with different barrel steels for several years in order to survive, extended service life on, specifically some of those barrel steels are really kind of academic and not very useful if you're just shooting legacy ammo, right? Who cares if you can get, 70,000 rounds or something on a barrel shooting legacy ammo? That is not the most entities that are buying guns treat barrels as disposable, right? Or consumable, not disposable, but consumable. Okay. And so having some kind of academically long service life on a barrel for legacy ammo is not, I guess, super useful. Having extended barrel life on a projectile that is traveling at a much higher velocity in a shorter distance, that is where those types of materials are probably going to really come into play. And it's not just a material solution. You're going to be pairing a material solution with probably a rifling geometry solution, and then probably coating and plating technology solution. And you put those things together, and again, you're not talking about an incremental improvement. You're talking about a performance leap. Yeah. The gun industry has been 30 years or more behind every other industry in terms of material sciences. There hasn't been a ton of investment into the material sciences for this thing because there's really not enough money in it when you compare it to something like SpaceX. SpaceX has the need in the real jack to figure out how to reduce mass to get it into orbit, or materials to handle super high temperatures and so on and so forth. So whenever you're dealing with whatever the cost of a space launch is or whatever that is, there's I guess the cost benefit analysis or the return perhaps on that is so much higher that it's worth investing in those material sciences. Small arms tech, there really hasn't been that kind of investment in it. Right. But whenever requirements change or you see, and then you have a lot of smart people around the industry pursuing this stuff, and you're borrowing technology from other industries, again, it's a neat time to be in the small arms business.
Yeah, for sure.
And this stuff is coming fast to the consumer. I mean, 6.5 Creedmoor's out. 7 Arc is out there. I'm sure Federal is going to be releasing other calibers, and I think the train has left the station. It's at this point, I don't think you can dismiss that stuff. And I think that you'd be at a competitive disadvantage if you're not looking to adopt that.
When do you see it reaching 5.56 in the commercial market?
Well, so probably sooner than people think. I mean, right now you have Black Arc out there, right? You have Shell Shock. That's a 2-piece case technology, but that case is very, very strong. That case can withstand quite a bit of pressure, and that's already in use. People are shooting that all over the place. I mean, our guy Scott Peterson, who's I hired him like basically straight out of the AMU when he retired. I mean, whenever he competes with the Mark I, I mean, he's shooting that Black Arc ammo, and I mean, I'm sure I would imagine he's pushing a 73 grain bullet really, really fast out of an 11.5 inch barrel, stainless, 11.5 inch stainless barrel, really, really fast. So I mean, like that, like Black Arc and Shell Shock and that stuff is already in 5.56, and I think they have it in 308 and other calibers too. And I'm pretty sure you might see it in 300 Blackout. And then Federal is releasing stuff kind of as it goes. The 6.5 thing was really exciting.
Omar, is this why you're so racist about ammo?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like you're really vocal about the ammo you choose. And is it because you have a respect for the science of ammo, or am I just missing it?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, the ammo is very, very interesting to me.
Okay, there it is.
Well, yeah,
that's right. So you're an ammo geek.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I don't fucking know.
It's cool, man. It's cool. It's
yeah.
When it comes to range ammo, I don't care. Buy the cheapest stuff you can that still works and doesn't blow up your gun.
But no.
Shoot more. What you shoot at paper or steel doesn't matter, in my opinion. But when it comes to like performance ammo, I feel like in a lot of ways the civilian gun industry is advanced past just taking what's the status quo and running with it. Ammo is not one of those things. It's not keeping up, in my opinion. So, for example, when it came to ARs, for the longest time, Smith & Wesson M&P Sport was good enough for 99% of people, and nobody really looked into what can I improve on this. They would just buy the rifle and accessorize it. We've kind of moved away from that to people now being much more interested in specific parts about their rifle, handguards, barrels, etc. When it comes to ammo, I still feel like a majority of the people live in, well, I've got 55 grain M193s for the range, and I've got M855 green tips for duty use, quote unquote. And I feel like that's where a lot of people leave it. I would argue most people listening in their shit hits the fan, go to war, whatever you want to call it, duty, like actual serious use mags, just have green tips in them. And I feel like we've advanced way past green tips. And
that would be due to distributors not showing dealers ammo, though. Like if I would love to have like a whole fucking shelf of like different good ammo that I knew about and stuff. Like if I knew more about that, but like that information doesn't get from manufacturer to distributor or from direct account to dealer.
If only you had an employee that was like really nerdy about it.
Yeah, like the green tip stuff, like your M855, your SS109. Some of that also has to do with like consumer knowledge too, and that's like by arbitrarily trying to take like, oh well, the military uses this stuff, so it must be like really, really great. On the big contractual infantry side of things, and then wanting to use it but like SS109 or M855 out of a 10.5 or 11.5 gun is a bit ballistically underwhelming, right? The bullet has to reach a certain velocity in order for it to perform or to yaw, And so I see, like, I look at, the internet and everywhere else and I read stuff. I mean, I'm interested in this stuff, so I'm one of the silent majority of the people that just scroll in the background reading, like I don't really comment on anything. I think most functional people don't. But you're just kind of scrolling through, and I look at the ammo selection and stuff for things, and I don't know if people have put enough thought into pairing like bullet selection or cartridge selection into barrel length velocity considerations and then what you're trying to achieve in terms of like, end result. So, yeah, that's probably also why ammo selection in places is maybe a little bit more limited, because you're probably selling what people are asking for. People don't know what to ask for yet.
No. I mean, it's that, but there's no, like, you can't, there's not so there's not an industry stand, like, so it's because like all right, so the ammo manufacturers haven't come out with a reason for me to buy something different, and they haven't brought it to market. Their reps haven't come to my store and said, "Hey, this is a good idea." Except Liberty. When Liberty came out with their 223 and their 5.56, and that's the go-to like higher end home defense ammo or shit hits the fan ammo.
What kind of projectile is it for the Liberty?
The Liberty's the weird, like, it's super lightweight round with a lot of powder that's going super fast. It's kind of like the poor man. If you think about it, it's kind of like the poor man's high car. They haven't figured out how to make the casing withstand higher pressure, so they just make the bullet lighter to make it go faster. And for like home defense purposes and stuff, that does work, reduces overpenetration and stuff like that. But like for me, Mark 262, 77 grain Sierra Match Kings, that's the exciting stuff for me. It's really exciting stuff.
Yeah. We do a lot of precision validation.
What about you, Luke? Is that exciting for you?
A little bit. I mean,
You're
I feel
lying,
like,
motherfucker.
I feel like you buy that ammo. Like I have a bunch of, not a bunch. I have like a case, half a case of like 77 hollow point whatevers, and like it's there, and I'm like never gonna touch it. So it's like, it's not very.
It's not very exciting.
It's like
for
you buy it once, and then you just hope you never have to use it. Really, at least for me. But
I'd apply the same thing to most things civilians collect, though.
that's true.
Like,
that's true. Yeah.
There's training with it, which I guess you don't really do with the different ammo all that often because it costs a lot. But I mean, I could make the same argument for a plate carrier.
Right.
You buy it, you have it. It's cool to have. You might train in it, but at the end of the day, it's about like.
Not in the summertime.
Yeah.
It's fucking hot out there.
For me, like, ammo as it stands right now, I feel like is way, way ahead of what the general, like, common people actually even know about. For people, I feel like, again, most of it comes down to just 55 grain ball for range, 62 grain steel penetrator for duty. Like, even if we are going down that argument, like, M855A1s are real. Obviously, they're nowhere near available, but that's a way cooler round than green.
Yeah.
tip is.
So, like, for the industry, so let me explain just for a second how hard it is to buy ammo. Like, so you've got like, so from let's say the ammo people. So there's one guy that handles Federal. There's one guy that handles S&B. There's one guy that handles MagTech, and they have all their lines, right? And it's pages and pages of shit. And if you ask any fucking questions about specificity or any specific questions about, hey, I'm looking for this. Hey, I'm looking for that. They don't fucking know a damn thing.
I can vouch for that, man.
It sucks. Because for instance, I mean, I'm sorry for the Federal people, but fuck off. Like, if you get the Federal fucking price list, it's just numbers. There's no description. You can't go to the rep and say, hey, I need your 10 best 22 deals. I need your 5.56 fucking home defense rounds. I need this. I need that. They fucking know nothing, and it's numbers and numbers and numbers. The way to combat that is you have a buyer in a situation like a retail gun shop or commercial, whatever. Like, you have a buyer, which is generally someone who's fucking paid a lot of money just to sit and buy shit, which I don't. That's me, and I can't. You understand what I'm saying? It's not as easy as you think it is.
If only you had a resource that could help you translate those numbers into what they mean.
I can imagine you looking at a fucking price list from Federal, dude. You would.
Yeah,
it's maddening.
That was like kind of a shock. I'm not so much saying on the federal side or the like the ammo side, but like a lot of the folks that sell things like in distribution or large quantities or dealing with large distribution networks, things like that. They're not super interested necessarily like in the product that they're selling. It really is about margin and volume and things like that. I mean, I have met people who sell guns on a massive scale to dealers and stuff. And they don't shoot. They don't own a gun. They don't whatever. It's like selling penny stocks or something.
Yeah.
It's like it's brokering or whatever.
We're a dying breed, or maybe not.
No,
There is the new generation. Like there's a whole generation of Zoomer kids who are into guns, and maybe they'll and like if you like at SHOT Show, it's now Zoomer kids running the floors and at the different booths and stuff like that. So maybe they will, and these are all kids who are geeky and who like to shoot, and maybe it'll evolve into something different in the next 5 years, as opposed to where it was 5 years ago.
I really hope so. I feel like we've gone a very long way already, and it's just like certain things need to catch up. Because, like, I mean, I wasn't around for this in the industry, but like 10 years ago, how many civilian night vision sales were happening at retail stores? How popular was it to have body armor as a civilian that's like set up correctly and not just, a vest? How popular was it to set up your guns like a professional end user? Like even the idea of just the basic dot flashlight sling set up properly on a rifle, I feel like is relatively, not obviously a modern concept, but modern to be prolific. I feel like we're finally now settling into like, okay, dot light sling, it's kind of a requirement. I feel like there's a lot of like the industry's evolving towards the right direction very fast. There's just certain areas where it's not, and I want to.
What about flashlights on handguns?
I think you should have a flashlight on every gun.
Okay.
Doesn't
I saw a video where a guy was saying on his duty gun, it's not. So he was like, it's not that important on one of them, and in Florida, like fucking, you need a light on everything.
maybe except for a bolt gun. I would say flashlight on everything.
Yeah, because you go outside for critters constantly. I mean, at least I do. Like you go, you hear something, you go outside, you got to worry about your dog getting eaten. You need a fucking flashlight.
You only shoot at what you can see.
If there's an evildoer out there, you need a flashlight too.
So for you guys that have like a really awesome high volume retail shop, in addition to all of the other crazy things I found out y'all do, which is amazing, the general, like the kind of average customer that walks in off the street and is looking to buy something, do they know like what they're asking to buy? Are they coming in deliberately to look for something, or are they coming in looking for feedback and saying, hey, what's a good rifle for home defense, or what's a good whatever? And sometimes I wonder if like those of us that are involved like in the online gun culture, which is where a lot of this stuff is super prolific, and lasers and armor and training and enablers and all the stuff that's evolving, the education's growing. The online gun culture is still to me a tiny fraction of the general gun buying public.
Agreed.
So, and the reason why I say this is because if you look at 100 million gun owners out there, or you look at what like the NSSF sales data tells you, or what the manufacturing numbers are, and then you were to compare it to like the kind of comment section, if you will, of you have maybe, and it feels very amplified because we all live in this space and we're all nerds, we're all super interested in this. But if you have 500 or 1,000 comments on something, and then you compare it to the millions of 4473s run per year, what do you see as far as the disconnect or the perhaps the correlation between like the average consumer coming in versus the guy that actually follows Grand Thumb or follows us or follows somebody in this space?
I would say it's definitely a overwhelming majority of the people generally do not come in with an idea of what they want. From my experience, an overwhelming majority of the people are more looking for a general concept, and then they ask for specifics. So the amount of people that come in already knowing exactly what they want is relatively very small.
And that's what, like I said, I sometimes I feel like some of these concepts, like I get encouraged that like, oh man, the gun buying public is becoming more educated. They're becoming more interested in training, or they're becoming more interested in advocacy, or whatever that is. It feels like that because we're in this echo chamber and in this bubble. But when you really get out of that, and at this point now, I'm not even looking even at the American commercial market. We're actually global markets, right? Global markets, the general gun buying, there's still, I think, a giant disconnect between, your more sophisticated, commercial end users, and then like just the dude. And then there's people that come in, and we all have these friends and clients that come in and like, dude, I don't give a shit. What's the coolest thing you have? Or what's the newest thing you have? Or what's the hottest thing you have? And there's people that aren't even interested in performance. They want something super cool. Like there's a huge correlation between guys who like nice cars, nice watches, nice guns. Just like cool dude toys. And the same guy that buys a Ferrari who's not going to be driving it 200 miles on the highway is the same guy that wants to buy a really kick-ass HK rifle or something. Not because he's going to shoot it to the maximum of its performance ability, but he wants like the coolest, neatest thing that's out there. And there's a huge segment of that market as well.
100% agree.
I think that people are shooting now more than they've ever shot. Like at least, we're selling more ammo than we've ever sold.
That's good. That's encouraging.
Like people are. Omar thinks they don't buy it. They don't shoot it though. Are you the one who said they don't shoot it?
No.
Who said they don't shoot the? Who says they don't shoot the pistol Pete ammo that they buy here?
Sounds like something Nate would probably say.
Nate would say that. Okay, so there's different buyers who come in. You've got first time, or a lot of our market right now is new. Like believe it or not, like it's their customers there the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And so they're still buying guns in their first 2 years of buying guns. But all those people, I would say, shoot, or the whole market shoots more than ever before. More people have private ranges, more guys. So that's another thing. You have the rich guy who has a nice car, nice watch, and then builds a gun range.
Yeah. Somewhere.
Like you have that proliferating a lot now. You have so many more people who are into matches, who are into competition. Social media, obviously, but like the algorithm hides it. It's
yeah.
I mean, it's like like the whole gun tube is dead. It's just the fucking algorithm fucking with it.
I mean, I think so. Like guns, I believe that, and this is a good thing. I believe that we are winning the culture war. Guns, I believe, are a lot less taboo than they used to be. And I think,
but there's 13 states that have them banned.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I'd be interested to do the math, but I mean, more Americans might be living under an assault weapons ban now than are not. And if you look at the populations of California and then Virginia here soon, New York, Massachusetts, Washington, it's yes, legislatively, they are able to pass that. Like culturally, in terms of the acceptance of guns, through COVID and through the unrest of like 2020 and all that kind of stuff, more people bought guns. The demographic of gun buyers blew up.
Yes.
Right? So a lot more people. And it was, I remember the Sandy Hook gun rush. The Sandy Hook gun rush, people were buying everything AR related because they were afraid they were going to lose that. It was going to be banned. The 2020 gun buying explosion, people were buying everything because they thought they were going to have to use it. During the Sandy Hook rush, there was not a shortage of optics, lights, slings, revolvers, pump shotguns, subcompact pistols. Like during the Sandy Hook rush, that stuff was all widely available. All widely available. During like the 2020 rush, all of that stuff was sold out.
All gone.
And it was because people were actually thinking
because the whole country was buying guns, not just the gun nuts.
Not just the gun nuts. It was everybody who thought they actually might have a legitimate need for a defensive tool. And so that, I think, blew open the kind of like demographic to it. I think it kind of lessened the taboo nature of the idea, and it became vogue. Like, look at all of the kind of really high-end shooting ranges that are more like clubs now. It's almost like you can have your humidor.
Oh yeah, they're
in there.
fucking everywhere.
You have like a really nice place, and I a lot of these people carry our products, and I love them. I go visit them all over the country, but it's a hell of a lot more prolific than it used to be. When I got into the gun business, you went and stapled targets, to like a piece of plywood at a berm, at a public shooting range, and that was where you went to go shoot. Like now, you can actually go and go on a date to a shooting range, and it's the country club of that. Like,
I see them.
Right. But that business model's blowing up, though.
I get super envious, though. Like, I look at that, I'm like, fucking hell, how'd you do that? Like, how the fuck did you get that, man?
Some of my friends back home, they actually have opened up some of these facilities, and they weren't necessarily even in the gun culture or industry. It was like a really templated turnkey business model that you would buy into, and like they were just ahead of the trend for kind of where that was going. But all of this is good. All of this to say that I believe that. Now, I wish it translated to the legislative side. You know, I think that gun control is less popular now than it ever has been. The problem is that.
Then why do bans keep happening?
Because people are voting. I'll tell you why bans keep happening. Mm-hmm. Because guns are not super high on the importance of like certain voters, like at least like on the left. Like that is not a top thing that they're voting against. That's not what they're voting against. They vote in politicians based upon the ideas that they're legitimately interested in. And it just so happens that like a lot of special interest people who fund gun control are the same people funding these people's campaigns, and they get into a state to where there is no like actual real opposition. You get into California and you get elected there is no opposition to the crazy ideas. Unfortunately, like when Virginia flipped, that's the most recent example. Like when Virginia flipped and they lost, you know, meaningful opposition to oppose what's about to happen. I don't think that I don't think the residents of Virginia voted for gun control. The residents of Virginia voted for, you know, certain political parties that just so happen to also enact gun control. And because there's no brakes on the crazy train, that's how you end up with it. But whether or not like gun control is popular amongst like the populace, it's really not. It's mostly funded by very deep pockets on the special interest side. Let me give you an example. The NRAs, this was like, I guess in 2016 or something, last time I paid attention to it, the NRA's entire lobbying budget was like $5 million. That was their entire lobbying budget. One guy, Michael Bloomberg, pumps about $100 million into anti-gun legislation for like every town against gun violence. So you have the NRA, which is like the most prolific lobbying group. I'm not saying they're for litigation or for that, but as far as access historically in lobbying, their budget for lobbying is like $5 million. Michael Bloomberg, one guy through every town, is easily spending $100 million a year to put us out of business. So is that a popular issue, or is that just a really well-funded issue by a small demographic of people, you know, who want to push this? That's what I've seen, at least on the advocacy side of it, you know?
See, I think I'm big into conspiracies and shit, and I think that, like, I think you can't, people like Michael Bloomberg have realized that they can't get us federally. So they've got to go state to state to state to state, and that's what they're doing. And so they're pumping tons of money into candidates who are applicable to the middle person.
Yes.
And then when they get in, they take our rights away, and they're going to use that ever more. You know, like we're just seeing the beginning of it, I think.
I don't remember like a lot of these candidates running on like a necessarily like a strict gun control type of policy. They're running like
it's like Cold War gun control.
Yeah. So by the way, this works in the inverse as well too. So whenever Biden was in office, okay, that's whenever Texas finally passed like constitutional carry. So a lot of times what you see is that, you know, a lot of politics is theater. A lot of politics is grandstanding. I don't think that Texas constitutional carry would have passed when it did had Trump have been the president at the time. I think that this was a way for like the governor of Texas and Texas politicians to like, you know, anti-Biden in an era of like political grandstanding. I'm happy, you know, we benefit from that. But the inverse is true. That's where you're seeing the results in Virginia and other states. Unfortunately, like this coming midterms is going to be interesting.
Is that crazy fucking politician, that chick who hates everybody? She's kind of hot and she uses really bad language on like she's I think her name is, like, I keep thinking her name is Selena Gomez, but is she from San Antonio? There's an anti chick who first she ran an office in like Arkansas or something.
She's an anti-gunner?
No. She's pro-gun.
Oh, okay.
She's like anti-Muslim, anti-gay, anti-everything. But I think she's in San Antonio.
I don't think she is. I think I would know her if she was. but no, I don't know. Maybe if I saw a picture of her.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, you've shown me videos of that. I don't remember her name though.
She had one of our rifles. She did. It was hanging up in her thing. Hey, so you said something that was really I don't. So you surround yourself with people that are like people like Nate Horvath and these different friends of yours. Rarely do people it's say something. I'm like, and it was and you said, I don't fault people for trying to earn a living.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the Focus Trip guy.
Yes, my good friend Focus Trip.
Your good friend Focus Trip. Like I'm notoriously against hate propaganda, hate marketing. I call it pitchfork marketing. I hate it, but I never looked at it as a way where you're faulting somebody for them just trying to feed their family. Because at the end of the day, it really is just them trying to feed their family. They're just trying to monetize and get richer, and there's somebody who needs to eat.
Yeah, so, I mean...
You know what I'm saying? No one's ever said that to me before. I thought it was really significant.
Yeah, so some of that, I mean, I really, believe it or not, like, don't take that stuff personally because...
How the fuck?
My product is high-performance firearms. That is my product. And that is what I'm going to go out and market, push, and monetize, and that's how I feed my family. I think some people's product is controversy and drama, and their currency is clicks and views and subscribers. And
selling merch.
Well, it is absolutely a business, and it is an entrepreneurial approach to attack or take a contrarian view of something that is popular. Like, nobody would give a shit if I did a negative review on like Bob's bedpans. Like, who cares? Nobody cares about that. It's not a popular topic. It's not a topic that like taking a contrarian view on would be compelling or interesting or click-worthy. So taking a contrarian view on something that is, at this point, the Mark I is probably one of the best-selling rifles, or at least most in-demand rifles in the country. I know globally we're crushing everywhere we go, and the rifle's winning pretty much every competitive down select that it's in. If I wanted to generate, views or attention, that would be a smart thing to take a contrarian approach to. Now, I don't know. Like, does the guy not like me personally? I don't know. Is it an entrepreneurial way to rack up views and stuff? Both could be true. Either way, it does not bother me at all. It's frustrating sometimes because I really do try to put out like very accurate and like measured and careful information. When we're talking about the performance claims of a product or why this buffer system works or how the gun operates, I'm trying to be precise, because when I'm making a video, in my mind, I'm not thinking about like I'm not thinking about like the overall, like the masses or the public. I'm thinking about whether or not my peers would take me seriously. Or like, if Will Larson was alive and he watched that video, would he say, dude, what are you smoking? What are you saying? Or whenever I'm about to submit this rifle to an entity and it's going to be passed around through all of the end users for evaluation, and then it's going to go to all of these weapons testing laboratories, and I'm going to have to talk to these people face to face. If my performance claims and what I was saying was completely crazy, that would be a really awkward conversation. Like, dude, no, we passed it through you can't hide from like the laboratory data or the testing or the end user evals or that kind of stuff. So when I'm saying something, in my mind, I'm thinking about if those people are going to take me seriously and I'm going to remain credible by saying this stuff. And so that is how I approach something. The reason why it's frustrating, I suppose, is because I actually care about the, like, being precise. If you're not concerned with that, and it's simply a matter of generating the most amount of noise, then you're not necessarily worried about credibility. You can say whatever you want. The other thing too is, you know.
Wait, all right, so back up a second.
Yeah.
So it's your take that if it's an entrepreneurial effort, there's an entrepreneurial business model to be contrarian and create debate, create clicks and stuff like that. But at the same time, if you prescribe to that, then you're definitely not interested in being right all the time.
The retraction is never as loud as the original headline. You know, I mean, I've seen subsequent videos from things where, you know, information might have been corrected on that, but it's never going to get as much attention as like the original thing, which it's meant to generate noise. That I can't necessarily concern myself with that. I have like time and like truth on my side to some degree, that, and we're allowed to talk about some of the successes that we've had in other arenas, and as this thing continues to move forward, the credibility or one of us is right, and so you just kind of got to let it play out. And you said something to me really interesting yesterday. We were walking around, and I took it seriously. It's like the market will let you know. Like if you're doing, like if you're doing something deceptive, or you're doing something like that, or you're not putting out a good product, or you're just being a shitbag, the market will let you know. And the fact that that rifle is by far commercially the most successful thing we've ever done, and it continues to grow from people that own it and are telling their friends to go buy it. And then the rifles continue to have professional success globally. Like, you know, to me, that's the metrics and stuff that I'm paying the most attention to. And if you weren't, if it was like snake oil and bullshit, well, then people just stop buying it. And it's kind of, the market will let you know how you're doing.
100%. Can you give a brief explanation of, because didn't you responded to the whole focus trip thing, didn't you?
No, this is the first time I've ever actually.
This is the first time.
Yeah.
Would you like to take this opportunity to respond to the focus trip thing?
I mean, not necessarily directly. I mean, here's the thing. And this is obvious to me. There has never been any ambiguity in like what we're selling. Whenever you buy a Mark I, you have to select like either a stainless or chromoly barrel. Mm-hmm. When we released the rifle back in 2024, this was months and months and months and months before any type of announcement about any type of like, contract award or something. The rifle was released as just, a really, really awesome rifle. And then we announced the contract. We talked about a lot of the emerging tech that we developed along with that rifle for a lot of the future programs that are now in like the open conversation. They weren't back in 2024. And it wasn't my place to talk about them. And if you conflate like the tech that we're working on with different specs that are awarded into a contract, I mean, that was never a claim that we made. The other thing that we heard too was, well, why didn't we correct some of the like influencers and reviewers that reviewed it? Well, what if they're not wrong? What if some of those barrels have been tested, approved, and selected, but not necessarily immediately adopted? What if that is potentially true? Or what if there are concurrent programs that you're working on that you're not talking about yet? Or what if like the entire suite of tech or the family of that system, the Mark I family of rifles, what if it's in multiple configurations and different calibers and other things that like we're not ready to commercially talk about? And it's not because we're trying to withhold information from the public in favor of the government. That's not what we're doing. What if we're in super highly competitive down selects for really coveted contracts and we're not necessarily releasing some of the disruptive tech or some of the cool stuff that we're working on yet because we're, pursuing or competing in other programs? We sent rifles out to a lot of people for review, and our request was the same. Hey, go shoot it. Objectively tell us what you think about it. Let us know if there's something better we can do, and give us your honest feedback. And the performance of the Mark I, I think speaks for itself. When people shoot it in the systems level approach that we actually developed it in, with a flow can in the configuration that it's built, with the A5 and everything else we did to the gun, that rifle is a very easy rifle to shoot well. And if you look at the data that we have, and I'm trying to find a way to compile this and put it out, there were entities that tested the rifle with thousands of drills against shot timers, measuring shootability. It's not like you're putting a rifle on an accelerometer and looking at it that way. It's the speed at which folks are shooting drills out of thousands of them against a lot of different rifles that were in the same competing for the same things, and the rifle's objectively faster. Unless you think we went in there and bribed the shot timer, or when people are filming the rifle being fired through the reticle and the reticle is not moving a whole lot, unless they're using CGI, the rifle's probably really doing that because it's being shot in the configuration at the systems level approach to which it was developed. If my livelihood was engagement, clicks, subscribers, views, whatever, I would want to discuss any topic that would generate the most amount of attention. I think because of the success and popularity of the Mark I, taking a contrarian view on that makes entrepreneurial sense. But some of the feedback I got from at least
that's a real fucking Buddhist way to look at it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I have this opinion here from this person, and then we have the success, the global success from professional end users around the world. I have their feedback, and if you were to put those on a scale, I have to try to weigh that feedback, as precisely as I can. And by the way, we are looking for objective feedback on things. If there was something that would have been mentioned that I could improve or do better, we would take that feedback very seriously. And we do, whenever we do hear that kind of constructive criticism or, brutally honest feedback. I don't know what to extrapolate from that.
I got some criticism, feedback. I shoot your gun a shitload. I need more fucking guns.
So how is the Mark I doing for you commercially? Just curious.
Can't get enough of them. How do we get more guns?
So right now we are, we're right now this period right now we're meeting a lot of obligations. We have some obligations we absolutely must meet right now.
How do I get somebody to steal from that obligation?
And hold on,
Luke.
There is one other thing. We are working around the clock to beat the Virginia deadline. July 1. That's it. No more serialized items are going to be going into Virginia, and so maximum production effort on top of some of the other obligations that we have is to try to get as many rifles into Virginians' hands as we possibly can, because up until some court decides to hear that case, and I hope they do, Virginia's screwed.
Where did that all come up? How did you develop such a big relationship with Virginia, and then going into the band that they have going over there, and then you're, and I've heard first through Nate and Sean when they were first here, and then through Tim, and that you've had a big focus on Virginia, and you're trying to do everything you can for them. Is that your second home or something, or is it?
So
did you go gamble there a lot in your youth?
In 2020, I went and I skipped the first half of SHOT Show to go speak at Issues Day in Virginia, and it was the most impressive thing I've seen on the advocacy side. there was 50,000 armed citizens, 50,000 people carrying guns in Richmond, standing at the Capitol. I have photos from that day, and like the crowds were radiating down every street. I mean, it looked like, Woodstock or something. Just the sea of people, and that turnout actually got 4 lawmakers to cross the aisle and vote down the proposed assault weapons ban in 2020. And that was really cool to see. And I got to see it from the Capitol steps, having been at the podium looking out. And that was super inspiring. It was the... And then unfortunately now, with how fractured, there is no gun community. People talk about the gun community. There's no gun community. There's a gun culture, but it's definitely not a community. Okay, it is by far the most
Omer said that
self-cannibalizing and self-destructive thing I've ever. It is really disappointing. Back then, for whatever reason, there was at least a potential of some kind of solidarity. If you could look at the photos that I've posted from Issues Day 2020, there were all of these different demographics of people that had come together with the one common interest of guns. This is on my Instagram page. I've posted it for years. Go look at all the different demographics of people that came together specifically for the interest of the Second Amendment. And unfortunately, today that could never happen. You have it is a snake eating its tail. Well, the tour you gave me, and I got to check out all the stuff you guys are doing, and it's a lot more stuff than I ever completely appreciated before I came to visit. And y'all do, again, this is probably one of the most productive and is industrious, kind of operations that I've visited. It says a lot about your creativity and your work ethic and your there's a winning mindset.
No,
winning.
it's the what is it, Omer? It's the hinges.
The hinges.
Yeah, the hinges. You ever see Schindler's List?
Oh my gosh.
where he goes up to the rabbi, he's like, "How many hinges have you made?"
How are you going to connect this to anything?
Well, because that's what I do to my employees. I'm like, I'm kidding.
Your operation has continued to expand and expand and expand, and I see the stuff, the scale and the weight and the volume of the things that are maybe not so much publicly known out here, and so that winning mindset. It's easy to see why your competitors would probably not like you. You're probably quite the threat. Your operation is expanding geometrically. They are no longer in business. They probably don't have much good to say about you. But for what? That is the consequence of doing well. The consequence of having a better idea or having a better mousetrap. I mean, again, I think if you're doing something cool and you're making a difference, what is that saying that it used to be in World War II or whatever it was, that whenever the flak is the most intense, that's because you're right over the target. Whenever that stuff is the loudest, it's because you're making the most significant impact or being disruptive. And honestly, if that's the consequence, if angry people on the internet, if that is the consequence of going out there and at least chasing my live stream and actually accomplishing a lot of it, if that's the consequence, I can live with that. I've always had a very cooperative approach to how I look at the industry, even my competitors. I've always looked at it as it's us versus them. Us meaning small independent gun companies, them being Google, Facebook, Bank of America. Okay, Chase Bank. All right, us versus them. The biggest gun
ATF.
The biggest, or companies that might appear to be big gun companies, when you compare them to the size of, I don't know, Google, or the revenue's a rounding error.
Yep.
Right. So when I'm talking about us versus them, you would imagine that there would be a more cooperative approach on kind of how we are. It's one thing to beat this. I have for the guys that sat through my armorer's class, how often do I talk about my competitors in a very positive way? Hey, this is a good. BCM's a good rifle. You know, Geisley, Knight's Arm, and LMT, like they're doing this. And and I use my people that we compete directly against, as an example of like, here's a company that gives a shit. Here's a company that's doing good work. Here's a company that is a performance-driven brand. And to me, if I'm trying to hammer home the concept of like how a performance rifle works with gas and mass or whatever else, I don't even use myself as an example. So I don't want it to sound like a sales pitch. I want people to understand more the theory of how the weapon is operating. And if you sat in the class, I just told 40 people about how great I think these other brands are. They
are good.
But that is I have also a very like kind of cooperative approach of how things are. It's one thing to compete in good faith and to like go head to head on the on the battlefield of down select or a competition or competing or vying for market share, right up until and I want to compete on performance. I want to compete on merit. Like the idea of like trying to put a knife in someone's back proverbially has never crossed my mind. I would feel very weird if that was the way in which it's the same thing. It's like whenever I was single, or if it's a guy thing, you're going to go up and hit on a girl or try to approach a girl. Like I was never the guy like to say, hey, like the other guy's a douchebag, or try to like do like the whole buddy fucker thing, like talk some like your approach should be more about what makes you good, and not about what makes somebody else bad, or try to But that like just that concept is always foreign to me, and in most of the my friends that I associate with, and just like the overall people I surround myself with, share that type of approach to things, and it's kind of sneaky to do it in the inverse. It feels kind of dirty.
But I think in spite of the snake eating its own tail, it's growing. Like the gun industry is growing.
Yeah,
like it's not growing like COVID numbers. But still, like you see, obviously your company's growing. There's plenty of companies that are growing, and the customers that are coming in are newer customers.
Oh, yeah.
Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and then you still have people coming back like the year 7 customer, the year 10 customer. At least that's what we see. And so, in spite of there being just fucking negative shit, like maybe the gun buyer already knows that the internet is an incestuous place, and that they're going to see fucking the fake burner account fucking talk about, cat cans.
Yeah, the comment section is a highly inflated, very vocal, but very small representative of the actual gun buying public, and luckily, like the people that are truly in the market for high performance things, that's not where they're getting their information. It's damn sure not where the professional market is getting their information. The Army Research Lab or Crane or Ballistics Research Lab, they're not scanning the comment section of whatever, whenever you're talking about like these entities whose only purpose in life is to objectively measure like the performance and metrics of weapons. If you're doing well there, you're legitimately doing well. You can't fake that. You can't game that. So time and truth, man. Time and truth.
Let's go back for a second.
Yeah.
When did they come here a year ago? Over a year ago during Soft Week, or is it? It was
Soft Week.
Right after Soft Week, right? So at that time, which was 2024 or 2025.
It'd have been like January. So, I think maybe
May,
maybe like February or March of
May
of
March or May.
I think March of 25.
So at that time, the high end AR market was, I wouldn't say dead, but it definitely wasn't. There wasn't a lot of life in it. Did you expect there to be the commercial demand for the Mark I that you've seen, and then what was it like getting the orders or seeing the demand, or you knew you won the contract, but then you didn't know exactly what would happen from the commercial market and the demand of it.
Right. So yeah,
and then it freaked because like, so I won't name the company, but like, so another company, one of your peers, they're doing the exact opposite. They're going down. Like they're still household name, but they're making guns that are $1,200. Now their guns used to be $2,400, and they're going down and to increase sales. Where you guys just came out with this specialized product, and it skyrocketed. And at the time, like even if we had like fucking like, so if we had 10 Mark Ones right now, we would sell them pretty quickly. If I had 10 Geisleys, I'm not going to sell 10 Geisleys quickly. I'm not going to sell 10 BCMs quickly. Like there's just like sometimes in the gun world you get a fucking runner, dude, and just for whatever reason it sells. And but at the time, a AR that was that expensive or an AR that was that evolved, it wasn't on anybody's radar, at least not mine. And I own a fucking gun store. You know what I mean? I didn't like. No one thought like even like the SIG guys. It's a fucking 50, you know, like it's not even a spear, you know what I mean? And talking about the spear, like the spear, kind of the same thing. When it came out, it was good, expensive, died, right? Yours keeps going.
It's an objectively really good rifle. And it's a differentiated rifle, not arbitrarily. There's been a lot of legitimate improvements to that gun.
When was the moment that you knew you had it, though? Like when that the public got it?
When we started getting rifles out to people, look, my entire company from day one grew through word of mouth and peer-to-peer recommendation. Okay, Sons of Liberty from like 14 years ago went from, you know, a couple of dudes that I knew to a couple of dudes that they knew to eventually law enforcement agencies. And then those law enforcement agencies talk amongst themselves. And then you pick up a county or a city, and then you pick up all of the surrounding counties and cities. Mm-hmm. And it keeps having this ripple effect through word of mouth, really good customer support, end user support, post-sale support, the product quality, right? And so we knew what the Mark I was because we had shot the ever-living hell out of it. And we put these guns into the hands of objective people who are trying to find something wrong. I'm saying before the release of the gun, before we ever released the gun. And so we're a lot of people that are very serious shooters and very serious end users. This is not related to the contract. This is just simply a sanity check on what we're doing, you know, like, you know, internally or through our network of people that are like, whose job it is to be objective. They're like, dude, this is different. Like this rifle is different. This is you're onto something. And so enough of that, and it was, you know, consistent, and it was and the feedback was the same. We sent a bunch of rifles out to people that the internet's never heard of. We sent rifles out to people who were actually like, you know, in the training sphere or in the testing sphere, or in like the networks of people that are, you know, that are interested in these kinds of high performance things. And that was our kind of our marketing budget, if you will, was sending out, you know, a couple of rifles. And we knew that when the peer-to-peer recommendation started, whenever people got experience with that rifle and they told their friends about it, that ripple was going to expand. It did expand a lot faster than I expected. I knew that it was going to expand. I didn't know that it was going to expand that much. But I mean, again, we've never paid for a review ever in the history of the company. We don't pay for magazine ads or radio spots, or, you know, we don't do that. We sent rifles to people asking for objective feedback. And I'm not even talking about like the online space. I'm talking about, you know, there's a lot of people who are influential in the gun buying space that are not online. You know, they might actually, I don't know, run giant training companies, or maybe they're where people come through to do other things. The industry is many verticals.
Many verticals.
Many verticals, okay? And when it started, it was the snowball. Just kept building momentum until this day that it does. And like, you know, the positive feedback from truly credible people is a hell of a lot louder than, anonymous 6969 or whatever the end user or whatever the handle is for it's an Instagram thing. Like that is like that kind of noise and distraction does not stop a legitimate momentum for something that's really good. And so, I mean, what else can I possibly do?
Get us some rifles.
Well, after this month, we're going to be a lot more.
I don't give a fuck about after this month. I need them tomorrow.
Well, no, we'll see. I think I'll check on production when I get back home, man. But I'm looking
Just send
around.
those fuckers. Send them to me like fucking like don't even paint them. Just send them. I'll spray paint those fuckers. Put them together.
Yeah, I have to say, man, you really do have probably one of the absolute coolest and best selections of stuff that I see. And I travel to a lot of gun stores around the country, and we're very, very selective with our dealer network. We're very, very selective with who we want to deal with. People who compete on service, compete on relationships, compete on that. Not people that are competing on price. Not people that are trying to get into some kind of race to the bottom or whatever. Like you guys are successful because y'all have really crazy good customer service. Y'all have really good relationships. Whenever you were giving me a tour through here, we walked in here at lunch break from the armorers class. There was 50, 60, 70 people in the store, and everyone walked up and come and shook your hand. I noticed that as a founder and as somebody that takes my relationships with my clients very, very seriously. I watched person after person after person come in here and shake your hand, and you were shooting the shit with them. You knew them by name. You were telling them inside jokes. And there was a store full of people that you've obviously developed really good relationships with.
Yeah,
that is who I want to work with.
What are you gonna say, Luke?
I was gonna say, like you said, there's no gun community, but I think here at Sharkos we have a really nice community of like-minded people, not just that work here, but also our customers. Like, I make some bad videos, but there's still a bunch of people that comment this is awesome.
Your videos fucking suck, dude.
But
yeah,
I feel like that's
you don't look very good on there, man.
All right.
So hey, I want to say, man, you're 1,000,000% right, and you are right, and I want to retract, or at least I want to refine something that I said so I can be precise. Okay, I want to be accurate. There is absolutely a gun community.
Right, yeah.
You're just not going to see it online.
Right.
You're going to see it in the store or at the range when you're actually hanging out with people that are legitimately interested in people that deal and interact in the real world and have real social interactions and lives. There is absolutely a gun community. It's just there's no online gun community. That is probably a much more refined or precise way to say that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, I've never been to a gun store that has as many regulars and as many, just cool people that we get to deal with on a weekly basis.
Dude, it was awesome to see that. I mean, it was really cool to see the social, the legitimate and honest and authentic interactions with that, and that's why you guys crush it. That's why y'all's numbers are what they are, and that's why you have the clientele that you do, and that's why that's why your operation's expanding, and other places are like a fart in the wind; they're gone.
I mean, it's the Lord. You go to war with the people the Lord gives you, and I've just happened to have some really good people.
These guys are awesome, by the way. I'm a big fan of this dude. And by the way, I was telling him, for sure, just so you're tracking, when I say the people that that are doing the objectives weapons testing of the different labs and the engineers and the techs and the end users, whatever, they all send me his videos, and it's hilarious. You have a following that you probably might not even know. It's pretty cool.
I don't even believe as you're telling me. It's crazy.
So yeah.
How many people came up to you and wanted pictures?
63, but who's counting?
63 people. 63, but and your third SHOT Show?
Yeah.
How many people asked you, Luke, for pictures?
Well, I wasn't very active yet. my on-screen career hadn't started.
Oh, but the next year, though, right?
Yeah, next year.
Next year, it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's it's just spawned from it spawned from fucking wanting to be able to afford lunch. You know what I mean? That's all I wanted. Like when I first got into this, like I was amazed that people could go to lunch every day, could pay for an Applebee's. Like I just wanted to be able to, like I wasn't a fucking jet setting gambler. You know, I never experienced that type of wealth, but like and the way to make money is to fucking take care of people and give a fuck. And you can't, and like you've got to back up your word, and your word is the only thing. And a big thing too is my wife. Anytime if I'm full of shit, she's gonna fucking tell me, and she won't let me do anything dirty ever. It sucks. Like she's the fucking morality police.
Dude, I'm in I'm in the same boat. The old like my wife is not impressed with me at all.
Yeah, same.
My wife,
she's not impressed by shit.
I can come home and tell her like we just did this. She's like, that's great. Like, can you bring the hamper down? You know, like that's fantastic. You know, like what's for dinner? Like my wife is not impressed with me at all, and that has actually been a huge benefit to me because it's like your Jiminy Cricket, and it is like the grounding effect.
Yeah, like everything I do.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, I got this fucking, this fucking contract we got.
Yeah,
yeah, really? What does that mean?
Yeah,
I mean that means we have work for a year, Lori.
Yeah, you know, but it goes. It's very grounding. It keeps you kind of like humble and honest, and she doesn't bullshit me. Like she's actually pretty hard on me, and I think that's I'm fortunate to have like that kind of like family structure to where it's, you know, it's like, come on, really? Now I will hear her sometimes, and she doesn't know I'm listening, and she's in another room talking, and like she'll brag to her friends, you know, or she'll tell them a cool story, but she won't. She's not going to tell me that shit.
She's good, and it pisses me off. Like right now, she's into Tucker. You know, she likes Tucker. She's like, oh, he's so smart. Fuck, man. Like I'm pretty smart, Lori.
Tucker has an insanely high verbal IQ. Like he's like a verbal IQ to be able to like express and convey ideas in a really concise way. And like I enjoy him, even if he was saying something I disagree with. He says it really well.
Yeah, he's a good speaker.
he's a great speaker.
It's almost like voodoo.
Yeah.
So I heard of something. I'm not sure if we could talk about it, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Okay.
SHOT Show, there was a blackout that you guys were shooting at some party that I missed because I forget why. Oh yeah, my salesman got drunk and didn't show up, so I had to fucking do everything myself and with another guy. But so we didn't get to we didn't finish setup, so we didn't go get to test that rifle, and then it hasn't come out. Like, is there a blackout, like a new blackout coming?
Yes.
Can you tell us about it or no?
I think yes. So I have historically always really not liked the 300 blackout cartridge.
Okay.
Even as someone who manufactures them in the past or manufactures them currently, and you know, in this space, I've never liked the blackout because number one, I think it's a misunderstood cartridge, and I have yet to see anybody really do it right, where it has like an operational envelope as large as say a 5.56 and the kind of reliability or precision of a 5.56. And so like that cartridge to me was always being fired out of kind of a platform with a deficiency. And when I talked about the Mark I family of weapons, and I talked about the suite of tech, like we do have a 300 blackout. If depending on who you ask, some people in our organization internally call it the Mark II. Some people call it the Mark I PDW, but it is really an impressive rifle to be able to take that thing and jam subs, supers, you know, whatever you want, randomly into a magazine, and then just shoot that thing to the firing schedule that it will do. It will objectively do, making a performance claim here, and just be able to eat it without the need for adjustable anything. Okay? That is that is impressive. I have not seen a 300 blackout ever anywhere that does quite that. There's also some other tech on that gun. I want to be careful how I talk about, considering that like last time I started getting excited about the things we were working on and talking about it, I'm after in 2027, someone's gonna come back here and extract start talking shit about what I say today. So I'm gonna be careful, but there is some other tech on that gun that I believe is the future of how guns are going to be made, whether it's different things with geometry or the manufacturing process of certain components on that gun. It is neat. It's an exciting rifle, man, and I'm very excited to try to get it out there. I think right now we have to manage the production demand and delivery of Mark 1, and we have to responsibly, start releasing new stuff whenever like capacity and things catch up. Like we just bought and built, we purchased and built out an entirely new facility. For anybody that's ever come to visit Sons, we had a small, smaller kind of, facility. Like right now in July, we're moving into our new facility, which is considerably bigger, and the kind of talent that we've brought on to the team for engineering, production, operations management, supply chain management, materials management, verticality. This is going to piss off Reddit. Verticality of, bringing a lot of processes in-house, not because that enhances quality. What it does is it enhances speed of prototype, and it also kind of gives you a bit more, flexibility, especially if you're doing novel things. But once we're able to stand this up, which we're going to be moving, like we're investing a lot to get everything transferred over to the new facility very, very fast, be able to bring that thing online, and then they see the kind of infrastructure and talent and team that we've invested in, then we can responsibly start to bring out some of the new emerging tech, maybe some barrel tech and materials, maybe some other things we've been working on. When we're in a position to do that, like right now, we're already overwhelmed by the demand of the Mark 1. And we expect the other variants of that platform and other calibers and configurations to probably do, very well. But how do I do that without pissing you off further? If I can't get you guns now, I don't want to make it worse.
Yeah, you guys are dicks.
But, there's some neat stuff. There's some neat stuff coming.
So there's no person I can send fucking bottle jack to or anything. There's nobody I can bribe. Fucking chicken wings.
Yeah, dude. I guess I'll take some wings. That sounds pretty good. I haven't eaten today, but no, dude, I definitely want to make sure that we're well represented.
Yeah, it sucks. It's all right though. It's we'll figure it out. Luke, do you have anything you want to say to Mike before we go?
Well, I just want to ask, I know you're obviously a huge AR guy, probably one of the biggest in the industry. Are there any other guns that interest you? I know you said you're a lifelong gun guy. Like what other types of guns are you, interested in?
So the stuff that I like, I have a pretty obsessive and crazy lever action rifle. Every lever gun, mostly all the Winchesters. I like. everything Winchester's ever put out, caliber wise and model and all that stuff, into the historical context of guns. And then also, I'm a big the Bighorn Armory, like those 500 S&W Smith and Wesson. Those are cool. I'm a big lever gun guy. Obviously, I'm into, or really enjoy, like the bolt guns and the precision rifles, and like having really good friends and development partners and teammates like at Proof Research. We were one of their launch partners for the new PXT barrel, which we've been actually shooting and working with for a long time. Having those kinds of friends and partners, you're obviously, I get to play with some really neat stuff in the precision realm. We've actually built a few pretty neat bolt action precision platforms that, it's not something we advertise, but we've done on request. and then, but that's kind of it's weird, man. When I started Sons of Liberty, my gun collection actually, I guess, kind of shrunk. Because getting a peek behind the curtain in the industry, you get to see how things are made. And there was a time whenever I would see a gun come out that like looked super cool, and I would have gone and impulsively bought it because I'm a gun fanatic. But now I look at things through a slightly different lens when it comes to like materials manufacturing process, like QC, like blah blah blah. So like, I guess the stuff that I go back to again is like I like over and under shotguns. I like lever action rifles, bolt guns, and that's kind of it.
What about old Rugers?
Oh yeah,
That's what Luke wants to hear.
No, that's not what I want to hear.
Look, he's got
Curious.
he's got a revolver.
Curious.
He wants to probably show you.
Well, so Ruger bought Marlin, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so
yeah.
it's kind of neat to see I guess Ruger's investment into Marlin and seeing the Marlin rifles that are coming out, which I think is an improvement over the older Marlin rifles, right?
Luke wants that 10 millimeter. He does. He wants that 10. Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
What you said about finding out about how the gun, it's like finding out how hot dogs are made,
Yeah.
You don't want them as much after you find out. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
You can eat as many as you want.
Yeah, I remember seeing like these really crazy shotgun concepts with like 2 barrels and 2 feeding tubes and blah blah blah. And I'm not going to name any names. Like there was a time when like the novelty of that would really interest me. And then you think, well, how does it do under like a lot of like a heavier firing schedule with like high brass cartridges and stuff? You're like, yeah, I'll stick to my. I really like my 1301s, by the way. I have a lot of those 1301 shotguns, and I think those are really cool. You have probably one of the most impressive shotgun selections.
Yeah,
I've seen those. I think I want to buy that one after we leave here.
Which one, the Genesis or the Orthos?
That FDE.
Yeah, the Orthos.
Yeah, that is a nice shotgun. So
I mean, I like shotguns because you don't really have to be that good at shooting. Just point.
Is that a 14.5?
Yeah,
or a 14-inch, right?
Mm-hmm. Or it's a 10-inch.
14.
Yeah, that's a good looking shotgun, dude.
Yeah. Let me ask you one more thing before we're done.
Yeah.
Do you remember this lower?
Of course, Steve. Yeah. Yes. That is hilarious. Yeah, I remember this, man. Whenever
when did you come out with that?
So one of my buddies, a guy named Guido, yeah, he owned this company, man. The Zulu Fox, Zero Foxtrot.
Yeah.
And this dude he was a Marine grunt, and he had Marine grunt humor. Mm-hmm. And I mean Marine grunt humor, you can kind of guess, right? And so a lot of the styling of his brand was like through military history. The inspiration for this receiver was like the old Vietnam death cards, like the old Vietnam death cards that dudes would leave, right? So it's like the ace of spades and the skull, and then
death cards.
And the selector markings was a smoke break, one fuck, no fucks.
So that was given to me by a crazy old employee who retired for Boss's Day. And that's how I first found out about you guys.
So I actually have I have a pretty good personal collection of all of our own stuff. Obviously, all the other receivers we did. I will say here's an honest and interesting, I guess, bit of introspection. As the company, as Sons of Liberty grows and matures and starts doing well in other markets and other things, and some of the things we're competing for, like the company did have to mature. I do miss the days of us having kind of a wide open sense of humor, and I will say things were probably a bit more fun. Like we would do like the Soul Snatcher receiver, and then there was the Scalper receiver, which I thought was hilarious because it's got like the Native American hair with like the nods on it. And there's an Indian reservation that the police department bought those receivers. The entire reservation's like department carries us. I thought it was like fucking awesome. I do miss that, like the fun T-shirts and like the humor of it, and then being able to, I guess, devote a lot more time to the activist side and stuff. There's no free lunch. Once you gain something over here, you're giving up something over here. And as we pursue other things, and I take some of the things we're working on now are legitimately like my life's dream. It was my life's dream to be able to contribute to some of these efforts, to contribute in some meaningful way to like our place in firearms history, or our place in military history, or our place, like, one day, our guns will end up in probably certain, at least, even if it's unit specific or branch specific, museums for our contribution to this period in their warfare. I think that's awesome. And that is a life's dream of mine to have been contribute to that. Being able to pursue that dream, we've had to kind of, to be taken seriously on some of those stages, you have to give up some of like the fun of it, not the fun of it, but like some of the irreverence, and you have to kind of like pick what path you want to go. And like, I'm glad these things exist, and I'm glad you have one. I still have a bunch of them, and I'm glad that we did that. I don't know if we could necessarily do it again, and I don't know if I would do it again if it meant give up on some of these other passion projects that I get to work on. And so I don't know, man. It's kind of the bittersweet of, I guess, growing up. Then again, also, it's not just that. Like back when that thing came out, I didn't have kids. I wasn't married. Now I'm a father of 2 children. I have a wife. And whenever I go and speak to my kids' school, they've invited me to come speak for like, their days where I've been on debate stages, even at my own kids' school. I have to remember that I'm no longer just representing Mike and my sense of humor. I'm also, how do I want my kids to look at like the legacy I'm trying to build them? And, I now I'm not only speaking for myself, I'm speaking for my family. I'm speaking for a much larger team than we had back then. So yeah, man, I guess sometimes growing up sucks. Or sometimes it's great. I don't know.
I'm still putting out controversial T-shirts, so I feel like an asshole right now.
No, I mean,
controversial T-shirts, controversial patches. Yeah, I feel like an asshole.
First of all, I think
I can't go fuck. Well,
controversy in that stuff is okay. Like, I mean, that's great and it's encouraged. Authenticity is great and it's encouraged. Like, I'm authentically interested in this path that I'm on. So to me, it's not like an act. I just, where do you put your effort? So, anyways, just thoughts.
Omar, do you have anything you want to say to Mike before we go?
Can I tour your facility?
Yeah, dude, of course. Come hang out and come spend some time. Like, actually spend, if you can swing it, spend like a couple of days being able to kind of get into it, get on the benches with some of the guys. I'll have you sign some paperwork, and then you come look in like the developmental section of things, and I think you'll have a good time.
Can we have Eric and Omar go out there?
Yeah, I'd love it.
They can film and stuff?
Yes, that'd be awesome. I mean, you guys are gonna, we're gonna accuse you of being shills, and
already happening.
Bribe you.
Yeah, already happening.
Oh, damn! I'm sorry.
Yeah, I paid for my fucking Mark 1, by the way.
You paid for a lot of Mark 1s.
Paid for a lot of Mark 1s. I got nothing for free from them.
No.
Nothing. But all right, man. So we're going to call it. I want to thank Mike from Sons of Liberty for coming, and thank the guys for working late on a Sunday. And thank you if you somehow found this podcast. If you have the opportunity, smash the like button. I know it sounds kind of weak, gay, but just smash it and share this to anybody that you might find they might find it beneficial. And if you have the chance, come to our shop in Sarasota, Florida. A lot of stuff. I will bribe you by giving you merch, hats, stickers, shirts, whatever. Just say you saw the podcast, and I will set you up. Thank you so much. We're out.